Welcome, Fantasy Six Pack Waiver Wire Show, Week 9 edition, early here on Sunday night. Corey Pieper and myself, Joe Bond, are here to help you get an early jump start on that research for your waiver wire. It was a rough week, man. A lot of buys, and then man, we just had a plethora of injuries piled on top of it at the last second here. So was not a super fun week starting Sunday. We had a lot of busts. We had some good performances here by some guys who are a lot lower rostered. Let's get started with our first one.
Yeah, this is definitely a good performance here. In one of the games that was in the late afternoon slate here, Troy Franklin busting out for was it 5 straight wins now for the Broncos? 5 or 6 straight wins here for the Broncos. It's going to be 6 catches for 89 yards and 2 touchdowns. Well, let's get your thoughts on him. I saw you wrote something earlier in the week on him already.
Yeah, I mean, he was one of my sleeper streamer picks, whatever you want to call him, over on USA Today. I think we talked about him on the Fantasy Six Pack Hour as well. It was kind of one of those, the way I wrote about it was the roulette wheel of whoever has been the fantasy wide receiver 2 on the Denver Broncos changes, it feels like, every week, right? It's Mims or Franklin or none of the above, or it's just somebody, right? It's just and so last week we got that huge game from Mims, and it was well, now it's Troy Franklin's turn. And yes, it was. And so, yeah, I mean, this is going to be a boom bust play, waiver pickup for sure. But look, the one thing he has going for him is he has been the steady second target getter there in Denver. And Bo Nix has looked erratic at sometimes, and then he looks awesome a lot of times within the same game. So that's an interesting one there. But moving over here to another guy that we've mentioned before and you've rostered and hated and loved all at the same time. Mason Taylor there in New York. Another good game though, man. 8 targets, 5 receptions, 34 yards, and a touchdown.
Yeah, it's a great game. He's been very good. I am still, like I said, I texted you when we were talking back and forth. I'm still bitter about the 1 catch for 2 yards over in Europe a few weeks ago. That was against this very good Denver defense that we all talk about. And that was the week that Justin Fields maybe looked the worst of his career, which is saying something, throwing the ball, because there's been some rough weeks in there. But generally, you take that one away and you just look at the target share going back to week 3, 6 targets, 7 targets, 12 targets. And he had that 1 target game. But then we're back to 5 and 8. At the difficult tight end position, if you're going to get the ball 5+ times a week, you're going to be a top 12 tight end almost every matchup. They do have a bye this week coming up, but then right back after that, I would expect Garrett Wilson will come back, but it doesn't really matter. Garrett Wilson was there until this week, and he was getting the targets anyways. Mason Taylor's the second best receiving option in this offense. Maybe count Breece Hall, but as far as non-running back division, he's the second best receiving option in this offense, and that makes him a top 12 tight end.
Yeah, I think the only thing you got to watch out for is who's going to be the starting quarterback. They wanted to go Tyrod, it didn't work. He got hurt, maybe, who knows. And then they went back to Fields. They won the game. It wasn't pretty, but they won the game, and so maybe that keeps Fields on the field. But let's go to the next guy up here.
We are going to go down to another wide receiver. Yesterday, I guess we sort of knew it was coming. We knew that Nico Collins was more than likely going to miss this game with his concussion, and Christian Kirk was going to miss with a hamstring. So the question was, which wide receiver in Houston is going to step up? And the answer was actually a couple of them. Interestingly, found a way to be productive. We talked back and forth. We like Xavier Hutchinson right now as the one to add the most. Coming off, he finished with, let me pull it up here. You got it in front of you, what he did.
569 and a touchdown off 6 targets. A lot of the guys there, I'll just kind of keep going here. A lot of the guys there, they just spread the ball around, which seemed to help CJ Stroud. Instead of trying to force it to Nico Collins. And I said that, as soon as they get a secondary weapon, it was going to open up this offense. And we saw it when Christian Kirk came back, right? That was that secondary weapon that CJ Stroud was comfortable going to. And so it opened up Nico, and it made Stroud better for a couple of games there. And then Christian Kirk got hurt. Nico was terrible. Nico also got hurt. So now they've got to spread the ball around. A lot of people thought it was going to go to Dalton Schultz. I was a little leery on that one. I kind of bought into it a little bit, ranked him high because you got to expect the targets going there. But I was like, I don't know, man. Like, if they're gonna try to win this game, I feel like you're not gonna put it on the back of Dalton Schultz, and they didn't. And so Xavier Hutchinson was the one who produced the most, but a lot of these guys could be, desperation play, flex play. We got some pretty heavy bye weeks still coming up. A bunch of 4-teamers coming up here, so you're in desperation mode. There's a lot of injuries out there. Hutchinson, if Kirk stays out, I think we expect Nico to come back, off the concussion. But if Kirk stays out, I would think Hutchinson would be the one who's going to stay on the field the most. He does lead the team in snaps out of the other receivers there. So that would be the one I would trust when Nico is back.
Cool.
So going back here to one that we mentioned last week, the poster player for last week's waiver show, Tyjae Spears. Every time I turn on Red Zone or Red Zone turned to this game, Spears was making some sort of like run that looked like he was going to bust it for a long one. He did bust one long one, but kept like getting tripped up right after he crossed the line. Like there was gaping holes, and he just couldn't quite get past it. But ended up having a pretty good line, 9 for 59 and a touchdown, caught 3 for 23 as well.
Yeah, I think he's clearly taking over as the most explosive running back in this offense. Because yes, you mentioned his line there. He got that touchdown at the end of the game, which really helped you if you started him. I know I started him one spot where I was desperate, but Tony Pollard had 11 carries for 44 yards this game. That's starting to look to be the weekly production we're going to get out of Tony Pollard is 10 to 12 carries. Spears is going to get his 10 to 12 carries. And then Spears, this one went back to being the pass catching back, 3 for 23. That's what he usually is. It was just that oddity last week where Pollard saved his game with, I want to say it was 6 catches or something like that, which is just not what we usually see. And this is a team that's going to be playing down. They're going to be playing from behind a lot. They were down big in this game. Actually, I think they maybe had the lead at 1.7-0 before they gave up like 38 unanswered. It was wild. Actually, that's not true. That was last week. But this is a team that's going to play from down a lot. So we're going to see pass catching work. They play the Chargers again next week. Spears keeps getting more and more involved in this offense. 9 carries today. That was a high for this season, plus the 3 catches, most yards, first touchdown of the year. I think you have to go out and get Tyjae Spears. And by next week, he should not be somebody we can recommend as a top waiver ad. He should be back up over that 40% rostership rate.
Yeah, I've talked about him a couple of times, and in the usage article, like this Tennessee backfield as soon as he came back has been interesting to see Spears' role and how it has affected Pollard. It has kind of bounced back and forth, and then of course we had the coaching change, and then it really bounced. It totally changed again. You got that like weird, like you said, the week with Pollard where it was like, oh, now he's the pass catching back. Mm-hmm. The main thing that's the thing that has stayed kind of consistent with this is that Spears is like the long down and distance back, the third down back type, guy. And then he also plays a lot of the short yardage, like the goal line work, which is interesting. Like that's all in the 2-minute drill stuff, right? So those are all like very valuable reps. Where yes, you want to be that guy that's on the field first and second down. I'm waiting, I'll wait for like the stats to come out for this week to see kind of how the early down work, was split between these two. When red zones, flip into the game real quick, like it's always, sometimes it's hard to be like, oh, is this 3rd down and 10, and they're just giving them a screen, like a QB draw, or halfback draw, whatever. It's hard to tell that sometimes. So you got to wait for the after game reports to come out and see how the snaps really were split up. But I have favored Spears in fantasy over the last couple of weeks. And honestly, don't really love either one of these, but I know people are desperate right now. And Spears would be the one that I would lean on because I think he's getting the more useful work here. But teammate here, guy that you brought up, kind of right before the show that I had to be like, well, wait a minute. Actually, this is 2 weeks in a row, right? And Chimere Dike, teammate there in Tennessee. What do you like about him?
Well, just getting involved more. So we talk about the big misses of A.J. Brown and Drake London and Nico Collins, but Calvin Ridley's also not playing right now for the Titans. And say what you want about how bad their offense is. If you're going to fall down, you're going to throw the ball. I know they don't want to have to do it with Cam Ward, but today they threw the ball 38 times, and DK caught 7 of them for 93 yards on 8 targets. And like you said, this is really the second week in a row. Last week it was only 4 targets, but he caught 70 of them for a touchdown. So back-to-back weeks, 70 yards, 93 yards, a touchdown. He does tend to get a carry or two a week, doesn't do a whole lot with it. But other than week 4, he has now had at least 4 targets in 5 of the last 6 games. That week he had none. I'm not entirely sure what happened there, but that's interesting usage. And now he's starting to deliver on it. We already said it. They play the Chargers this week, then they have a bye. If you get 3 straight weeks, and as from navigating these buys, I'm interested as like a back end of my roster type of player. I don't want to play Dike yet, but he's someone that I want to put on my bench and just see where this goes, I think.
Yeah, while Ridley's out, somebody, again, they're going to be trailing from behind a lot. So I think, just garbage time, targets, that's kind of what you're hoping for here. And I think this last guy is sort of with the same boat.
Yes, he is. So the last guy here, we don't have any stat line to talk about today because he did not play. The Las Vegas Raiders are on a bye, but with all those injuries, somebody had to get cut from your roster, the back end of your roster, to get a replacement, and that was playing this week. And it looks like Tre Tucker might have been that guy because he dropped from 50% ownership on when I last checked it on Friday. He is 38% today, so underneath that 40% threshold, down 12%. Should we be adding him back though, Joe?
Yeah, I think it's like more of like a stash play. At this point in the season, like there's a lot of teams rostering players that probably don't need to be rostered. I mean, like, look, funny enough, we're talking about Tyjae Spears in this. Like in our Discord, we had a member talking about how he had, all these players and he wanted to do this trade and send us a screenshot of his roster. And I was like, he's like, he wanted to upgrade running back. And I was like, well, I wouldn't do that trade, but you're rostering 3 tight ends. Hunter Henry can go, right? Like out of the 3, Hunter Henry was fine to go. And like, yes, valuable tight end, absolutely should be rostered, but you didn't need him, is what I said. And I would like go look to see who the running backs are. The running backs work great, but Tyjae Spears was sitting out there, and I said, go get him. And I think he is very happy with that. So Tre Tucker kind of falls into that conversation, right? It's somebody who I think should be rostered, stashed on the back end of your bench. More so just because this team gets behind. They have to pass a lot. Tre Tucker seems to be a favorite there for Geno Smith. And with Jacoby Myers, trade rumors heating up. Like, it is red hot that like Jacoby Myers is very likely to be traded. Tre Tucker's going to be the number 1 guy there. Look, Bauer should hopefully come back soon. I think that helps him. If anything, that opens it up. Like we've seen Tre Tucker perform. It's not always going to be pretty, but especially in PPR leagues, you can count on like 5 for 50 or 60 or 70 even. And if he scores, like that's a really good day from somebody you just had to like throw in your flex for the last second, right? Like It's happened. I've done it. I've had to do it myself. Like I'm shocked that he's actually not rostered more, knowing that that's just kind of how it works with him. And those guys can be valuable. Like they're better than some of these dudes that we're stashing a lot and like they're not performing at all. Like sometimes the hope just has to be gone at some point, and you just have to go get guys that can get you some dirty points off at the back end of your bench. And in that off case that, you get a late week Drake London, right, type injury, throw in Tre Tucker. Like those types of guys work. And so that's how it happens. So, all right, man, that's it for the week 9 Fantasy Six Pack Waiver Wire show. Good luck in your waiver wire this week, and jump over on our Discord. You can ask us all your personal league questions, who you should add, drop in your leagues. Use promo code F6PPods to become an all-access member on the site, where you get a whole lot more than just the Discord, but that's part of it as well. And we will see you next week.
Go
Peace.
Pack.